Yes, it's a surprise for Emmanuel Macron, for the party of the French president of the Republic. No one expected that there's such a loss between the legislative election results 5 years ago, when Emmanuel Macron gathers to make elected 350 MPs, and today he has only 245 MPs. So it's a loss of more than 100 MPs in 5 years. And more importantly is, in fact, Emmanuel Macron, now it's sure that he won't have the majority at the lower house, so he will need to do coalition. I would also add that, in fact, the party of Emmanuel Macron is already a coalition between three different parties, between En Marche, his own party, the party of the former Prime Minister, Horizon, and the Modem. So, in fact, it will be very hard for Emmanuel Macron to try to gather another party within this alliance.
Indeed. How much turmoil and uncertainty does the result create within the National Assembly? What do you think will happen?
So what will happen is a very unique situation, because, in fact, the second and the third forces of opposition are the extreme left and the extreme right. So it's very unlikely that Emmanuel Macron will try to make alliances with both of these extreme parties. And in fact, what it's more likely to happen is that Les Républicains, the classic right party, with only 60 seats, will be pivotal in this election for Emmanuel Macron to try to make alliances and reach this absolute majority that he will need when he will want to vote a law or decide a text.
Do you see this as a real turning point for Mr. Macron and his future in politics? What does it say about the mood of the public at the moment?
So it says a lot of things. The first thing that is very clear is that it will be very hard to find a legacy for Emmanuel Macron, because he so much personalized the election and the results 5 years ago that now it will be very difficult to try to make another movement such as the one he created 5 years ago. But even more than that, it means that, in fact, these results are very aligned with what French people voted for the presidential election 1 month ago, when they clearly express their wishes to have extreme parties, unfortunately, with high scores. We just have also to note that, for example, the extreme right party has 10 times more MPs today than they had 5 years ago.
What has far-right leader Marine Le Pen said about her party winning its biggest ever representation in the Assembly?
Yes, because, in fact, with 80 MPs, now the party of Marine Le Pen will have a group at the lower house, because you need to reach 15 MPs. And it did not happen since 1986. So Marine Le Pen and the extreme right party waited for 40 years to form a new group at the lower house. So it's historical for the extreme right party. And once again, it confirms the good score that Marine Le Pen had at the election 1 month ago. But in fact, that it confirmed also the rise and the rising, unfortunately, of the extreme right party in France since 20 years ago, and the first time that the extreme right managed to reach the second turn of the presidential election in 2022.
So what happens now? Are you expecting a considerable amount of uncertainty while these parties work out what they're going to do?
So there's a big difference between Australian politics and French politics. In fact, you don't have to be elected to be ministers in France, but Emmanuel Macron told that every member of government needs to win this legislative election to remain in the government. And in fact, a couple of members of government lost this election. So it's really likely that there will be a change in the government. New ministers will be appointed. Some of them will be forced to resign. And we will see, in fact, if already Emmanuel Macron will enter some political representative from other parties, for example, from the right, to try to balance again and begin to constitute these alliances. So, for example, we know also that today he met with the Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne, and they had a tough discussion about what will be the orientation of the next government and who will be likely to enter this government, to try to find an answer to this, once again, result that are a bit of shock for Emmanuel Macron and its majority.
Fascinating indeed. Natanael Bloch, thanks so much for analysing that for us.
Thanks a lot, Yvonne.